So the property name is grid template columns, and we can add auto. Hey guys, I am Nishant and welcome to Cybernetico. In this video, we will learn about grid display in CSS. What is it and how it works? Everything. So, what is a grid? So, grid is the structure in CSS that displays our elements or divs in a grid fashion. Here I have an example where I am showing 1 to 9 numbers in vertical fashion in this divs. So let me mark each of them and give them some class name. So let's say grid child. Let me quickly copy this, paste in all of them like this. Press Alt and click. Then press Ctrl V. Not this, Ctrl V. Now we have this grid child in all of them. Now let's add some styling. So we can say border 1 pixels solid 212121. Now we'll see each of them has a border. Fine. Now let's give them some padding to expand from the inside 10 pixels. Now each of them has a padding. Now let's also give text align as center. Now each of them are centered aligned like this. We can add margin as well to add margin between them. So let's say 10 pixels as well. Now they are 10. 1 to 9 we have, and with margin of 10 pixels. Fine. So this was our initial code. But this is not a grid structure. It's a vertical fashion structure. This. So let's change this into a grid. So first let me give this a class name of grid main. Now you will see that the main class name should have a grid main class, because all of the divs inside or whatever inside it is a child. So this grid main has child of all of these, and if you make the styling in this grid main, you will see these being converted into a grid. So let me show you this class. We will first use display of grid. Simple, and nothing will happen. Now, because we are only adding a grid now, so this is also a grid, but we are showing only one element per row, one element per row like this. So let's show two elements per row. So we can say we have a method, or not a method, let's say a property called in CSS. So the property name is grid template columns, and we can add auto. So auto means 1. If we are having two autos, it means 2. So if we are adding this property, it means our page will be divided into 2 columns per row, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So save this and you will see like this. So this is a grid. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Okay, I think we need to add one more for the 10th one, like this. Fine, let me make this as 10. Fine. If you remove, like if you say, let's remove all of these 3. So we are saying 1, 2 and 3. So if we have a third element, see, we are adding auto and auto, it means 2 per row. So the third will be moved to the next row. If we add a fourth one, let's say this, it will come to the next of this third like this, and we have so on till 10. So if you make triple autos, you will see 3 up in one row, and same as like 4 and 5 and all. So this is a grid structure in CSS, and we can remove the margin from here. So if you save this, we will see all these items are getting sticked like this. They are sticking to each other. So also here we have a property called gap. So let's say we add a gap of 10 pixels. So we will have gap of 10 pixels here automatically added. In that case, we don't have to use margin in the child property. I mean grid child. So we have the gap. The same way we have two more grid. I think it's grid row gap. I think it's not grid row gap, it's grid gap. Let me check the correct name. I am forgetting. Grid gap row. Let me check this. So it's grid row gap property. So let's add it here. Not grid gap, grid row gap. But I think this is deprecated. So let's add something here which is 10 pixels. Now this will do what? This will add a gap to this grid, but in row. So you will see this row has a gap of 10, this row has a gap of 10, and so on. Remove this and the gap will disappear. Fine. Similarly, we have grid column rows as well. So if you make this as column, this will be on the column side, this. But if you want to do both row and column at the same time, you can use directly gap and it will work like this. And one more thing here, we can remove autos to make it only one unit here. I mean, let's say we use a thing called repeat. Then we can repeat it 4 times or 3 times, and we want to repeat auto 3 times. If you save this, it will be the same like this. You can make it 4 and it will be 4 in one row. Fine. And let's say if you want to do this, for example, let's say grid template columns. Let's say you want the left column to be shorter and right column to be bigger. So we can say, let's say 100 pixels and 300 pixels. If you save and check this, you will see the left column is short, the right column is big. I mean 3 times. If you want to have 3 columns here, you can say 100, 300, and let's say 100 again. Now in this case, what will happen is this same will be repeated once, but after 2. So save this and you will see this. But the problem is it's getting like this. We have to scroll this, and we want to make it 200. We can make it, let's make it 50, and this one has 50. So it will be like this. It can be variables. We can make it 100 and fine. So that was this grid. Okay. And the same thing we have for rows. So we can say grid template rows, and we can mark 50 pixels, 200 pixels and 100 pixels. Now what will happen is in template rows that you will see this first row we have, it has the height of 50 pixels. Second row has the height of 200, this 4, 5 and 6. And third row has the height of 100 pixels, like this, 7, 8, 9. You will see fourth row being nothing because we are not adding a class name. So we can make it as, let's say, 75 pixels. And this will expand a little bit more. And same column wise as well. So make it here and this will expand. And now it's bringing our screen. Fine. So let's leave at only 3 at once here. So this was grid template rows. So this was the grid structure in CSS, and there are a lot of properties that you can check. For example, you can check this W3 schools, the CSS reference, or this thing. What is it? Mozilla Docs. So just search grid in CSS. MDN Docs, Mozilla Docs. You can check this one or this one. You can check all of the properties like Miximax, Mixmax, and grid columns and grid row, all of these things. So that was grid in CSS.